in the dream of the cold restaurant. The man with the buttonhole and broad lapels is folding and refolding a white napkin. "Look," say his hands at intervals. A swan, a dancing girl, an intricate scale model of the Morn Library on Chancery Lane. The man adjusts his buttonhole and coughs as each one fails precisely to entertain. A waitress intervenes, bringing 2 plates. Fluted, plain, translucent, and quite empty. Such is the gaunt extravagance of dreams. That waitress, though, all elbows, wrists, and hips. A strip of exposed skin reveals a scar on the nub of bone that finishes the spine. No, not a scar. A burn. A full-blown wet rosette, just like the one you earned at 17 from a fuck on a nylon carpet. A carpet not unlike this carpet here, lalling its beige hoops and braids around the table's feet. Meanwhile, on the mezzanine, someone lifts a book and reads the line, "He left his knee exposed and dreamed of travelling on a mail coach by night." Well, quite. When you offer up your plate, it turns beneath your hands to a crumpled swan. The man, of course, has gone. Such is the glib economy of dreams. So find a way to bear it, if you can. The man who folds and cannot please. The cheap carpet, telling its idiot riddle. The girl who has not yet learned to move between compassion and contempt. But then other people's dreams are very dull, as the waitress knows with all the brutal certainty of being 17. And she's gone too. She'll pull this city to the ground before she takes your plate, let alone your pity. Some remarks on the general theory of relativity. Space, it turns out, curves. Space itself. And time does too, or rather, space and time together curve and stretch wherever there is matter. And this has always been the case, but no one thought to tell me. Practically, this means that if I lived up a mountain and my twin lived by the sea, then one or other of us would be younger than the other. I don't have a twin. I've got an older brother who says we never landed on the moon. An uncle who thinks aliens are farming us as food, who says the end is coming and coming very soon. An aunt who liked cocaine, who had the 7 sisters tattooed across her back when she got clean. And a father who took off like a comet when he could, who won't be coming back this way again, not in this life. As for me, my sense of things in general is loosely sentimental. And outer space, with all its borderkin of quark and anti-quark and light and dark, is no exception. I like the bits that look like us, that look like human things. A little spooky action, some unexpected pairing locked in formal equilibrium. I like the null and void of a black hole, but only, let's be honest, as a vehicle where the tenor is depression. Beyond that, I find I'm fairly chilled by distances and zeros, by emptiness and lack, by the eerie little whine in the word vacuum. Last night, washing dishes, I looked up to see my neighbour staring at her sink with all her dishes piled beside her. a mirror trick configured by the way the houses here have of bending round each other. Our paths don't ever cross. We keep our different hours, but the houses here are small, the walls are thin. I hear her talking sometimes on the phone. I hear her cough at night. I hear the little clunk of the cabinet in her bathroom, the same cheap bathroom cabinet that I have in my bathroom, the same cheap clunking cabinet all landlords put in flats. And yes, I must assume she hears that little clunk. She hears me cough at night. She hears me talking sometimes on the phone. She's thought, these walls are thin. She's looked up from her sink to see her twin in a square of yellow kitchen light with 10 dark feet between. Then the knife edge found my finger and it came up red and sudden. That scandalous reminder of all that ties us down and ropes us off from one another. Speculum. I like the word, how pert it is. Inquisitive. Part instrument, part clockwork bird, the kind that says, ho-hum, and clicks and squeaks in all its joints. A whimsical professor, beaked and blinking. Let's take a look then, shall we? In the Vulgate, it's a mirror. Videmus nunc per speculum. Only later on are we through a glass and darkly. An odd phrase that, a pane of sullen blue behind each eye. You don't look through a mirror. You go not till I set you up a glass where you may see the inmost part of you. That's Hamlet to his mother. In a sec, he'll get all weird about her bed and stick his sword straight through an arras. As for me, I find it strange to speak in one breath of one's conscience and one's cunt. Hard to know thyself when for years the only way was with a mirror tilted up. For a long time I believed it was an absence, blank, negative the lab could not develop, an ellipsis. Imagine my surprise to find the way extended upwards, backwards, inwards. All the same, I'm bothered by the rhyme that finds my centre in its recess. And yes, I find it tiresome to be arriving in my body again and again each time we talk of what is intimate. No way back now to the place where we first looked in a mirror and cringed into our borders, turning inwards. But I want a better metaphor than this dull fuss of sloven pinks or a room partitioned off. Like Alice in the sequel, slipping through to find everything she knows inverted on its axis and nonsensical. Whatever happens to Rosemary? Your song is on the radio again, Rosemary. The one where every other line is Rosemary, Rosemary. He acts like he can't hear it, but I see it, Rosemary. How the backrooms of his brain have all lit up with Rosemary. A 10-foot neon sign and it's flashing Rosemary in 10-foot neon letters that go Rose and Ma and E. And he's turning drunken circles arm in arm with Rosemary in a seedy little dive bar. And the bar's called Rosemary's. I found a load of photographs. They're all of Rosemary. He keeps them in an album labelled Me and Rosemary. There's a little punctured heart above the R of Rosemary, and it lives beneath the bed you chose together, Rosemary, the bed he shares with me. And he mumbles Rosemary when he's asleep and dreaming all his dreams of Rosemary, and I can't quite shake the feeling I'm intruding Rosemary when the springs inside the mattress squeal Rosemary, Rosemary. There's a signpost in his heart that points the way to Rosemary, and beside it there's a suitcase that belonged to Rosemary, and inside it there's a pocketbook inscribed with Rosemary, with 2 tickets for the steamer ship, the SS Rosemary. Yes, the path's a foreign country, and its queen is Rosemary, and he worships at the altar of its Venus, Rosemary. I can't understand the language. Every word is Rosemary, and the picture in my passport couldn't pass for Rosemary. Someone sack the archer. He's obsessed with Rosemary, and every dart is loaded with that poison Rosemary. In every corner of my heart there's a knife for Rosemary, and they've all got secret nicknames, but the nickname's Rosemary. And in this light, and if I squint, he looks a bit like Rosemary. Just add a bit of lipstick. Yes, like that. Like Rosemary. Now tell me that you love me. Say your name is Rosemary, and kiss me like she kisses. Say I'm yours, my Rosemary. The following poem has an epigraph from M.C. Escher, which is, "It remains an extremely absorbing activity, a real mania to which I have become addicted, and from which I sometimes find it hard to tear myself away." The Fly Dresser's Guide. The blue chatterer, for instance, spook neon, rare as radium. The lithogram cannot hope to reproduce its brilliantine, but there are some 300 specimens housed at Tring in the Museum of Natural Sciences, should Sir wish to see them. Think of their collector, who marvelled that such miracles occurred, with no intelligent eye to gaze upon their loveliness. A collection, incidentally, once plundered by a young man with a diamond saw and a dazzling obsession. How close we come to mania. The work itself, of course, the glass conservatoire in which 2 supple arias are ravelled round the task. But, sir, I know an initiate when I see one. How else to feel the fluent kindling, the ignition? How else to know the upshot scuffle of the will, the great detective and his rival going at it on the Reichenbach, our little livid echo of the angel who rebels and falls, pinwheeling from heaven? How close we come to ruin. But, sir, you felt its glimmer coming over Cadair Idris to Talathlin, down there, in the night cold, the intricate scape of cleft and structure, the prize that clasps itself into itself, its snapshot gem case. Jallow. The trick falls somewhere there between what you see and what you don't. Between the cleaver coming down and the merry spatter, another image darkens on the retina. The mind supplies the detail that decorum must omit. But the mind, let's not forget, has its own senses. Now you see her, now you don't. Now watch the camera move lovingly among the assembled treasures. Something or other here must offer answers. The marble or the moppet, the reddened mouth, the leather glove. You almost had it then, a half-remembered, murmured scrap of rhyme, a cradle song. Like tenderness, like trauma, like love with all the notes played out of order. Because you were rattled, weren't you, by that mirror, by what you saw or thought you saw reflected in the glass. The old betrayal, the awful peekaboo. The brain of the rat in stereotaxic space is all laid out on numbered plates. In lilacs, greys and greens which adumbrate the local function, a riddle flattened out, a knot bisected down the interaural line. The brain of the rat in stereotaxic space admits no trace of all the little rat thoughts, little rat needs that scurry round its maze. Just page on numbered page of isthmuses and commissures and junctions and rhombomeres all jigsawed into place. The brain of the rat in stereotaxic space insists the pieces tessellate and nothing else squeaks in. Just fig on numbered fig, glossed in 8-point lowercase. The brain of the rat in stereotaxic space invites us to extrapolate and come up with grim stuff. Here's no ghost, no guest, no hidden ace tucked up a sleeve, no sleeve in fact, just stacks of coloured plates. The brain of the rat in stereotaxic space has something to relate about how late it is, how much has been a waste. Grateful nonetheless to have had my time at a kink of neural space that more or less exactly corresponds to that where you had yours. A riddle uttered once between one blank page and the next. And that will do, I think. It is the lark that sings so out of tune. He's up at dawn again. She stays in bed. She runs through all the stupid things she said and almost said when she got in last night. Quite late again. Quite drunk. Or drunker than she meant to be. And spoiling for a fight. Loathed toad, she thinks. She burrows in, and in the half-light underneath the covers, she thinks half thoughts and half remembers others. Like, how much is behind her? How much less is still ahead? The days that come and go like dull beads on a joyless abacus. She listens as he potters round the kitchen. She hears him going through the old routine she knows by heart. The cheery chipper clink of cups and teaspoons lifted from the sink, the kettle on to boil, the radio. She would have liked, just once, for him to say, "Come on, let's go get wrecked." Or failing that, let's stay in bed. Let's stay in bed all day and do some freaky stuff. Or I don't know, let's burn something. That fucking coffee pot that fills and empties like a human heart all the livelong day. The radio, the sink, the house, this life. Let's burn the lot. It's terrible to see him cold and clear as what he was. Full of daft ambitions, all knife and nerve and luck and loony dreams. It's terrible. It's terrible to think that cups and coffee pots and kitchen sinks were waiting all the while to usher them along the dreary aisle from there to here. I must be gone, she thinks. I must be gone. I must be gone and live. Now where's that from? She can't recall the tune, just the bass line. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. A loosening, a sense of sweet disaster, of every chamber breached and disarrayed. Of dancing to the dawn, of him and her all lean and tight and quick like sparring blades. God above, how young they were back then. How young they were. Roll over, feel the slow poison of the sentence sinking in. The kettle churs and trills. The jocund day is shaking out its feathers. Radios are bringing news. Outside and overhead, a happy dagger zips across the sky and casts a whirring shadow on the bed. But only for a second. Then it's gone.
I love it that you use jocund in that poem.
It doesn't, any excuse, it doesn't get used enough, does it? That's the fun thing about working with Shakespeare is you get to half inch all sorts of things that you'd never be able to get away with.